The Boruto series has been teasing new Otsutsukis for quite a while now. The mysterious statues, the destroyed panels, the secret Karma seal, and many more. All of these hints indicate new celestial creatures will appear in the story very soon. With the introduction of Shinjus, we are now a big step closer to the debut of new Otsutsukis. But how exactly will they make their first appearance in the story? I remember there was a time when theories like Amado is a secret Otsutsuki and Kawaki is under the possession of Isshiki in the future were popular. While these possibilities have watered down to Kawaki acting like Isshiki instead of being under his control, and Amado wanting to revive his daughter who could become an Otsutsuki. As for the flash forward, some people even believed a new Otsutsuki would interrupt this fight before the climax. That's one of my favorite theories. The only problem is that if something like that had to happen, the new Otsutsuki could have arrived on the planet early. Why would he make his entry only after the Clash of Titans? So instead of focusing on possibilities which don't have a proper base to begin with, let's discuss some more plausible Otsutsuki theories. Starting off with the living god trees and how they might be the possible new Otsutsukis. I believe the Shinjus are about to evolve themselves very soon. They are literally living god trees, which means once they eat a celestial being, they will evolve. Their whole appearance could undergo some massive changes, and chances are what they evolve into would be different than normal Otsutsukis. It could be a completely different species, maybe a fusion of the two or something like that. But just cause we don't know what they will evolve into, Otsutsukis are the best assumption. And it's not even necessary for them to eat Boruto and Kawaki specifically. They can consume an Otsutsuki from outer space and still evolve. Not to mention they have specific human targets as well. But I believe the addition of this instant was done for mainly two reasons. First and foremost, it provides limelight to Naruto. The Shinju boss wants to devour him, which brings back his plot relevance, making the story engaging to the OG fans. And secondly, it improves the narrative presence of characters like Konohamaru and Sarada, who have been overshadowed all this time by Boruto and Kawaki. Anyway, the Shinju Otsutsukis are something I'm rooting for, and the way the story is being built up, it's only gonna get crazier from this point. I hope you guys remember how Code acted as the code for the Shinjus to activate. Ida is the name of a programming language, and she literally programmed the whole world with omnipotence. Demon is a computer program which runs in the background, hinting at his ability working in the background. So what about Bug? How is the meaning of his name significant to his role in the story? A bug refers to a fault in the computer system, and by this definition, we can assume that the Shinju of Bug is about to create a fault in omnipotence. He is targeting the caster of this divine spell, and once he absorbs her, he will gain the power of omnipotence too. However, as his name indicates, he will create a flaw or fault with this divine ability that could mess up everything. Maybe he would mindlessly manifest his darkest wishes of turning every shinobi evil, which is why Kawaki had to take this step of eliminating them all. Maybe it's a bug in the program which has led to all this mass destruction. Shinjus, as far as I can see, don't need to destroy the village or anything to achieve their goals. It's possibly the misuse of omnipotence by Bug which drove Kawaki this far. The reveal of his Shinju name might also give us some hint about what he's plotting. Let me know in the comments what you think about this theory. Now let's get to the karma of Kawaki, which possesses the DNA of Akebi. At first it might seem like Amado is innocent and just wants his daughter back. That's why he planned so much. However, the things that I'm about to tell you will change your whole perspective on the scientist. It will also confirm his connection to some mysterious Otsutsuki, so hear me out. The existence of Kashin Goji proves that Amado was lying about working with Jigen after his daughter died, which was 12 years ago. Back in Naruto Shippuden, Jiraiya's body couldn't be found, and the reason was said to be the corpse getting lost in the depths of the ocean. However, if Amado was able to clone the Sannin, it means he had found his corpse somehow. I believe he got his hands on Jiraiya's remains before Konoha, and the whole ocean scenario was made up to distract us from the Sannin's return. So if he had created Koji around the time of the Shinobi War, which happened almost 15 years before his confession, this means he was creating clones even before meeting Jigen, hinting at him working for some other Otsutsuki. Amado said he created Koji just to kill Isshiki, but as we can see in the story, the clone of Jiraiya is helping Boruto, and he did not shut down after fulfilling his only purpose. Now if you think finding an untraceable dead body was the only remarkable feat of Amado, he even has access to the Hashirama cells of the new era known as Shiba Shibai's remains. Now that we know he could have created Koji before the death of his daughter, it's very likely that he got his hands on Shibai's remains even before he bumped into Jigen. So if Amado has a lifelong connection to multiple Otsutsukis, what modifications has he done to the karma of Kawaki? Assuming the daughter's tale was just a sympathy-gaining tactic, could it be that Kawaki's assumption about Akebi's true identity was correct? Well, before I explain the mind-blowing theory, please hit that sub button cause I'm about to bring some more amazing videos in the future very soon. I believe once an Otsutsuki ascends to become a god, there is no way for them to come back to their mortal form. And for some reasons, Shibai Otsutsuki wants to return, and that's why he used omnipotence to set up the circumstances for Akebi's death almost 12 years ago. Boruto saying he was also born 12 years ago wasn't a coincidence at all. Shibai has granted him the power of a troublesome eye, while Amado's genius is possibly being used by him to reincarnate himself into an Otsutsuki. Even if that's not the case, the possibility of Amado reviving an Otsutsuki for someone is really high. Now the reason this mysterious entity approached him is pretty simple. He's a genius at science, technology and cloning, and these advancements are really appealing to the Otsutsuki race. You can see the similarity between the Otsutsuki panels and Delta's panel. Amado's technology is really advanced. That's why he's so appealing to the celestial beings. So if an Otsutsuki god like Shibai wants to reincarnate himself, only Amado can get this job done perfectly. Now assuming Kawaki uses the karma on a clone out of empathy for Amado, it will only lead to the birth of a formidable enemy, most likely an Otsutsuki who returned from godhood. Now that we know how Akebi could just be a decoy for the real deal, which is an overpowered Otsutsuki, let's talk about the other creation of Amado that also hints at the return of more Otsutsukis. The white karma of code has been a really big mystery since the very beginning. Boruto thinks Isshiki's DNA was responsible for the birth of Shinjus, which is not true at all. Claw grimes were made from claw marks, a Shinjutsu which doesn't seem to be used by any Otsutsuki before. Chances are the claw marks were the signature Shinjutsu of Shibai before he became a god. And if that's the case, then code using the same powers which helped an Otsutsuki to reach godhood, still facing else after else, is a huge disappointment. It proves that it's more about the user who's using the tools, rather than the tools themselves, which lead to great outcomes. Anyway, Momoshiki calls the karma of code a dud, and I believe he has no idea about the potential of Amado. The scientist doesn't create things which are dud. The claw marks were able to awaken consciousness in the 10 tails, which means Amado could have controlled the beast himself with proper planning. But he chose not to do it, and as far as the karma of code is concerned, I think it lets Amado control code manually through something we call arbitrary code execution. Basically, it refers to a situation where an attacker can run their own code on a system, taking control and potentially causing harm. I believe Amado has used this technique to present a hologram of Isshiki to code, because he was caught mumbling to himself after this scene. This means not only he's working for an Otsutsuki, but he's also involved with the Shinju awakening. He literally used code to awaken these creatures, and even Masuri told him that it's written in his destiny to get used like a clown by others. This proves that Amado can manipulate code with ACE, but for some reasons, he never revealed this. Not to mention the revival seal overrides every cell of the victim, so Amado somehow figuring out a way to manipulate the karma into befooling code is not out of question. Talking about karmas, we have the missing karma sign from the Kara wall, which could act as a setup for another Otsutsuki. This star-shaped seal single-handedly hints at the presence of multiple Otsutsukis, and the reasons will completely blow your mind. When the Kara was introduced, we got to see this frame where different stages of karma seals were shown. All of them have made their way into this series, except this one. At first I thought it might have something to do with Aida and Daemon, but when I dig deep into the symbolism of this shape, I found something really mind-blowing, so hear me out. This 7-pointed star is known as the heptagram. This shape seems to have a lot of significance in a number of cultures across the world. A common thing that I noticed in many cultures is the fact that on each point of the heptagram, there is a unique shape that has its own significance. I feel like Kishimoto had taken inspiration from the symbolism of the 7-pointed star while coming up with this missing karma. Take a look at this picture. The symbol on the third point is way too similar to the one that Amado uses on Delta's capsules. The significance of the third point in mythology turns out to be the power to bring love in all aspects. We know that Delta is the clone of Amado's daughter, whom he loved with his whole heart. The affection for Akebi made him come up with a staggering plan Hidan, and that's why this symbol which is beneath her capsule is a straight up reference to the power of love. Not to mention the same symbol was used by Hidan while performing the Jashin ritual. The reason I think this way is because Amado was trying to revive his daughter while the signature ability of Jashin is immortality. Maybe he had found the remains of Jashin and tried to use them in hopes of bringing his daughter back to life. However, as we know from his story, he couldn't get the consciousness of his daughter back, which requires a divine procedure. So he must have given up on experimenting with Jashin and decided to study the miracles of the Karma Seal after teaming up with Jigen. The fact that this mark was present on the Kara wall could be a hint that they possessed the remains of many more Otsutsukis, including the ones mentioned by Momoshiki. What if Amado had used the remains of more than a single Otsutsuki god to modify his cyborgs? We know the power of omnipotence was possessed by Shibai, so Aida was definitely made up of his genes. But what if Daemon was made by the remains of the god of Hidan, Jashin Otsutsuki? The fact that Daemon's name is way too similar to demon makes me believe that Jashin might be the opposite force of a god in Otsutsuki verse, which is devil. Subscribe cause that's a theory for another time. The statement of Momoshiki where he mentions Otsutsuki gods have manipulated humanity's memories can act as a subtle basis for this theory. A popular theory connecting Jashin, Daemon and the Chinoiki clan could also play out here. In a nutshell, it is believed that Jashin was an Otsutsuki who landed in the Valley of Death where people started to worship him. The fact that he was worshipped can be taken as a hint that he had already become an Otsutsuki god at that time. He must have granted his followers the unique Kekai Genkai, the Ketsuryagan, and before ascending to the higher realm, he could have killed the entire Chinoiki clan and manipulated the memories of people regarding them. Talking about Hidan, he must have then found some remains of Jashin that made him devote his entire life to him. The fact that Amado found the remains of Jiraiya and even Shibai to create his cyborgs, I won't be surprised if he had somehow got his hands on Jashin's remains as well. So what if Aida's powers were extracted from Shibai's remains, while the powers of Daemon are the purest form of Jashin's abilities? We know that Hidan could use his divine ability to inflict damage on his opponent by becoming a living voodoo doll. This was definitely a Shinjutsu, and Daemon might have inherited its original version, the power exclusive to Jashin Otsutsuki, which retaliates each and every attack back to the opponent. Coming back to the heptagram, we have got another symbol that we have already seen in the series. It's the crescent sign of Aida, which apparently signifies the power to give strength and protection. By looking at the major role of Aida in the story, it seems like Kishimoto has actually drawn inspiration from the symbolism of heptagram while writing down his characters. The way Aida provided protection to Kawaki and then granted him the authority of being the Hokage's son, which in turn made him powerful, resonates with the meaning of this symbol. The fact that not one but two plot points can perfectly fit the symbolism of the 7-pointed star, there is a really high chance that the other points of this shape will also have some significance in the story. But that would be a stretch if I start theorizing on them, so let's dive into some other symbolism of the 7-pointed star that could help us to find out more about this Karma Seal. Almost every symbolism that I found about this shape, it turns out that the 7 points refer to the 7 different pieces of information. Like in alchemy, it is used to refer to the 7 planets that were known as the early alchemists, while in the culture of southern Appalachia, it refers to the 7 different clans of Shiroiki people. Considering the 2 points of the heptagram are a reference to the 2 Otsutsukis in the Narutoverse, what if there are 5 more Otsutsukis whose intel was available to the Kara organization? This means Amado knows a lot more than what he has revealed and could potentially have intel on every Otsutsuki who landed on Earth. So who could be these 5 other Kara Otsutsukis? We will soon get introduced to 2 more Otsutsukis who are being teased for a really long time, and considering that they had turned into gods as said by Momoshiki, it seems like another big plot point has appeared in the story that could literally change everything. The Kara might actually have the remains of 7 different Otsutsukis, and it could be that they had no knowledge about many of them. As we know, Otsutsuki gods can rewrite histories and they have already done it before. So even if the Kara had somehow found a remain that belonged to an Otsutsuki god other than Shibai, that Otsutsuki god could have easily altered their memories into believing it belongs to Shibai and not him. This enhances the possibility of Daemon's power belonging to Jashin and Amado being in delusion that he was made from Shibai's remains due to omnipotence. The mind erasing plot point has brought in a tons of possibilities in the show. What if Amado has been brainwashed by some other Otsutsuki god into thinking that he had lost his daughter, while in reality it's just a god Otsutsuki who wants to become an Otsutsuki again with Kawaki's karma? Finally, let's discuss why I believe more Otsutsukis, or more likely Otsutsuki gods, are on their way of Boruto's home planet. Remember when Isshiki sealed Toneri on the moon, he specifically mentioned they are not allowed to kill a member of the clan. This means these creatures are obliged to follow a list of rules, and maybe those who attain godhood usually rebel the clan to go that far. If they are so sensitive about the death of their members, this means they must have a no tolerance policy for some more things too. Like Kawaki, who's also an Otsutsuki, desires to exterminate the whole clan, which is something they shouldn't tolerate at all. I have talked a lot about the possibility of Shinjus helping Kawaki, but today I will give you a really solid theory. When Aida peeked on Bug with Senringan, he was able to see her, so he caught her off guard and made her his target. So what if the real Otsutsuki clan is keeping an eye on planet Earth, and once these Shinjus would arrive at Konoha, they would be able to see them all. And once they would have some solid news for Kawaki, they could start their manipulation game against him. Jura could let Kawaki know how he stands no chance against the Otsutsukis, and how they are constantly keeping an eye on him with the Senringan. So if he wants to become more powerful, there's only one thing he could do. He should form an alliance with the living god trees, who also hold a strong grudge against the Otsutsuki clan. We know how desperate Kawaki gets when it comes to becoming more powerful, as well as protecting Naruto. So Jura could pardon the life of the 7th Hokage and take Kawaki under his wing. In return, he would need to prove his loyalty and betray the shinobis once for all. Furthermore, he's about to lose his most precious assets, Aida and Daemon too. And as we know how much Kawaki craves power, the best option for him is to switch sides and cross all the lines to protect Naruto. And for those of you who think he won't kill the entire humanity, well, he definitely won't. He has most likely evacuated them all to his Daikokuten dimension, cause there is literally no need for Shinjus to massacre the human race. They need Otsutsukis to evolve themselves, and the cannibalism is just their personal instinct and not a life goal. You can find out more about the Otsutsuki vs Shinju theory in this video. Also, please let me know if you want a part 2 of this video. I'm signing off right now, but I will be back with some more amazing content.